My nephew's teenage friend tracked down my house and demanded that I let him in because he wanted to confess his love, so I called the police to make him confess at the station. A few months ago, me and my family went out to watch a movie and then have dinner together. That includes my sister and my nephew. Two of my nephew's friends tagged along. They were friendly and nothing out of the ordinary. 2 weeks later, one of my nephew's friends, John, showed up on my doorstep and asked if he could come in. I was weirded out and got a bad vibe and asked him politely to leave. For context, I live alone with my daughter who's 11 years old, and a virtual stranger dropped by in our home unannounced. I looked at the camera and he was holding flowers and other stuff, so I figured this was just a dumb kid with my crush who thought he could woo an adult, but I asked him twice to please just leave and he wouldn't, saying he just had to see me and that he needed to tell me how much he loved me. This included a gross comment about me being a single mom. I told him I was calling the cops and that's when he bolted. Cops later came, took my statement and just circled around to make sure he wasn't still nearby. I specified that yes, he was just a kid, but I barely knew him and he had tracked down my house and wouldn't leave until threatened. He didn't commit a crime, but the cops still dropped by his parents' house to give him a warning about not leaving private property when told to. I didn't ask the cops to do that. They just took the info I gave. I called my sister to find out his last name and who his parents were and just related that to the cops since they were asking. I just wanted to make sure he was gone. That visit they did was on them. His mom called me and she first apologized on behalf of her son if he made me feel unsafe, but then told me I went way over the line by involving the cops and how teenage boys having crushes is nothing out of the ordinary, and how this could ruin his life and I should have remembered he's just a kid. To top it off, my sister also told me I went over the top and how he's one of her son's good friends and that I should have called her when he wouldn't leave and she would have sorted it out. I went with my gut feeling and I don't regret it. Edit. I'm 31. John is 16. Update. So it turns out my nephew did give John my home address. My sister and my nephew stopped by my house and my sister basically brought him along so he could explain and apologize in person. John's mom complained to another one of the mommies in their group about how John's friends are the reason he did something inappropriate. My sister found out and got my nephew to confess. John apparently kept asking my nephew about me after the night I met him and told my nephew and their friends about his crush on me. My nephew and his friends egged him on to ask me out. One of their friends asked my nephew when was the last time I had a boyfriend. My nephew answered without thinking and said 2 years. Then their little group told John he had nothing to lose and how I'm probably wanting anybody to ask me out. My nephew emphasized how he didn't think John would actually do it and it was just a stupid dare, and how they kept pressuring him to just give out my address so John could drop some flowers, and how John stopping by my house was never talked about. My nephew kept saying sorry and how he didn't think this would turn into such a big deal. I was having none of that and let him have it, telling him how handing out my address without asking to people I don't know was putting me and my daughter in danger, how he's old enough to know better, and how stupid and thoughtless he acted. I told him he would never house sit for me again because God forbid another one of his friends put a stupid idea on his head, and that I can't really accept his apology because I don't even know if it's the truth. First, I was told he was shocked and angry at what John did, and now I'm being told this was all a stupid prank between boys, so I can't be sure on what to believe. When I was done with him, I asked my sister if she thought this time my nephew was telling the truth, and she said this time he was. I then pointed out that this still didn't excuse John at all for trespassing and refusing to leave my house when told him to, so while I'm angry at my nephew for handing out my address, I still think there's something wrong with John. This time my sister didn't give me the boys will be boys crap and agreed and said she is bothered by how John's mom is still making excuses for him. I asked if at least now that kid has moved on and will leave me alone. My nephew said that from what he heard, John's dad put the fear of God into him, so he likely will never bother me again. He still asks about me, but my nephew has told him to drop it. So if nothing else, I can believe my nephew is angry at John for dragging him into this and getting him in trouble as well. So I don't think he's protecting his friend and trying to soften what happened. It's been over a month since I called the cops on John, so I find the timing of this is weird, and I feel both my sister and nephew know more, but at least I found out how that boy knew where to find him and that he likely won't try the same stunt twice. That's enough for me.